Sige. Okay. Start na ba? Okay. Hi, guys. It's January 28, 2021, and you're watching me, Nikki, also known as Faces Trader. Here is the Philippine market update. So let me just begin with the questions last night because I was not able to stream. But let me actually just read first the update, and then I'll answer the questions. So you can see that the market continues to fall. You've got 6,851 points, down 11 points. It's still below 7,000. Take a look at your statistics. Your most actively traded continue to be speculative names. But as you could see, the speculative names continue to fall down, which is kind of like the reckoning because it really has very few to sustain the movement. You could see that there's 3 billion pesos trading what? Two names, BSC and APL. You've got PHA. That's 1.6, 2.6, and about 400 million. So you're seeing that 3 billion pesos in the market is trading three names. The Philippine market has a lot of the traders actually speculating on companies like BSC, APL, just because of the narrative that BSC has that restructuring format on their renewable energy, and APL going into mining. I don't know what type of mining they are going to do. But more than that, you should be aware that BSC has risen from a very small number here, from about 20 cents, or let's say just here, about 30 cents. It rallied to 6x, about 1 peso, 80 cents. And right now, what you're seeing is that a lot of the market was actually trading in and out. And I'd say that this huge drop from about 180, 190, all the way to 120 forced a lot of resistances, meaning they probably needed to sell it at 130, 140, and then I don't know if they really are there for the long term, but I would say that those who were buying here were not really there for the long term. So they're not really prepared for their 1 peso names to actually go down to 70 cents or 80 cents. So it dropped here about 70 cents, although it was a big move up. Take note that at 130, those resistances continued to reside. Meaning they probably got in at, I don't know, maybe they got in at about 1 peso. It fell down to about 70 cents here. I don't know if they held onto it, but thank goodness that it's back to 1 peso and above, and they sold it again. So why would they buy near about 1 peso? Most likely because here, 1 peso, they thought that was support, right? So prior support here, another support here. And then, of course, you've got more supports here, about 70 cents. So you have actually a lot of people buying and selling. It's still a trading range for BSC. You've got these higher lows at 70 cents, but you've got a lot of resistances here at 140. I think that these people who got stuck here are probably the late people. So in a way, they probably need to kind of lose their money. And it's a bit sad, but nobody told you to buy there. It was you forcing yourself to buy. So you accept your consequences. Nobody forces you to do anything. We have been harping out that actually, even at 150 all the way to $2 to sell, even if it goes to 3, 4, 5, it's really about selling, trimming. Froth is actually froth. These were actually euphorias and insanities that you want to actually sell into. Now, let's say you were selling at about 180, 140, even all the way to $1. All you know is that right now for BSC, you have no idea how much the market will gonna have authorization of capital, because you're really gonna run a renewable energy play in Myanmar and Thailand. They're gonna have to raise some money. How will they raise that money? Are they gonna sell 50 million shares or 100 million shares or 1 billion shares? Those are the types of things that you have to ask yourself, and at what price will those shares be sold at? Now for PHA, and let's take a look at that. As you know, PHA was a restructuring play as well last year. And truth be told, this has gone from about 20 cents all the way to 3 pesos. You could see that only the people who got greedy and pigs were actually slaughtered. And we always said that bulls and bears make money, but pigs always get slaughtered. Pigs can actually be twofold. Pigs who are doing longs, but pigs who are also getting shorted, like the squeeze out. That I will explain later on in the global market update. But as you could see in the Philippine market, these speculative names are actually killing the pigs. Meaning, ilechon mo na yung mga pigs kasi they deserve it, diba? They have been what? Probably they have been buying all the way up from 20 to 60 cents, even not, no trimming at all. So at some point in time, you really have to ask yourself, is Squid Pay and all these efforts actually worth how much? 15x in less than I don't know, this was less than 3 months, right? So at the end of the day, you have to understand that a 10x or a 20x move in a short span of time is hardly sustainable. No matter if you're a good company, it's hard to sustain those types of movements. So you've got the PHA movements, you've got the APLs going down, and you could see that a majority of the people who are late, this is just a classic case of insanity, and really all insanities would have a tremendous pullback, parabolic pop with actually parabolic drop. These are companies that we actually have been mentioning very well. Sometimes, I actually, it's not even sometimes. I talk a lot about this in the inner circle. I talk about the fact that you always see momentum on the upside, but momentum also happens on the downside. And so if you want to see parabolic pops and drops, they're actually like twins. You see the pops like that. Eventually, yes, they will find their maker, and their maker will actually drop. So what's gonna happen there is really at the end of the day, no matter what type of assets, stocks, commodities, crypto assets, metals, they get to meet their maker at some point in time. So usually a great company can actually consolidate after a year or so, but it will always actually fall down. So the big money is done. You could see that APL from about 5 cents rally to as much as about 47 cents. The problem is that these things can actually go all the way down to about 10 cents or 5 cents. So it's like, the chart repeats again and again. However, this is actually a classic case of all the speculative names that happened in the Philippines, but also worldwide. So give you an example of some worldwide names that are classic cases. So let me show to you what happened with a Signal example. Well, Signal was like 4 days in the making. Just 4 days from about 50 cents all the way to $70, and then back to about $5. So sometimes it never really goes down back to that 10 cents era. But as you could see, let me show to you like specific names just for your knowledge. So example, this was the Elon Musk tweet from about $1 to as high as 28. You thought that was high, but boom, squeeze further $70. And then next day gap down. So as you could see right now, people are talking a lot about GME, a short squeeze, an epic run, right? 4 to 7 we're buying, but here about $20 all the way to 375, all the way to 400. Imagine that, a 20x move, especially in just how many days. But more importantly, the people at $3 or $4 are hitting about 90x your money, meaning $4,000 is roughly $350,000. Amazing, right? And what was happening last night with AMC and Nokia, which we were actually talking about in the global market updates. So we knew that this was an inverse head and shoulders, and a buy here about 485 and $5 we added there. Last night was already trading at 950. If there's a huge squeeze, which we studied on Nokia, this could actually go higher. This is not just this is not hyping you. I'm just saying that if you actually study your fundamentals, in the case of Nokia, you knew that it was a 5G enabler infrastructure. There was a lot of gains to be had if you were on the right side rather than on the wrong side. So that's what's happening, really classic case in the Philippine market, speculative name issues. However, these were not really related to short squeezes. What was happening in the Philippine market was just greed begetting more greed, euphoria and insanity. That would be my understanding of what's happened in these cases. And what you're seeing is that ASEAN, we made a mention to buy ASEAN about $2 peso 20 cents. You'll notice that it rallied to as high as about 10 pesos, right? Actually, it was not even 2 because there was like the offering, right? So it was below 2. So it was about here, June, July, where we were saying that, this ASEAN is a solar farm and wind farm in India. And, and they're doing that. They spent some money, 5 billion pesos here and there. And you saw the news, right? So it was about execution. However, the market actually priced it in as high as about $10 in just June until about December, January, or a 5x move. So usually those things cannot be sustained. And you are seeing actually still, and we were saying that there was going to be distribution all day long. And in fact, I think 6 months from now, it's still going to be distributed. The suckers who got in late, well, I don't know what you call them. Are they suckers or just really greedy bastards? So all the greedy pigs just gotta get slaughtered. You gotta learn your lesson. buying insanity is not a recipe for making money. Buying insanity is a best way to burn your money. So, if you gotta learn to lose money just to learn your lesson, sometimes, tough love, but that's something that Awesome 10X wants you to learn. We never actually advise you to buy. In fact, we're saying trim, trim, trim. And if you wanted to like be the captain of your ship and whatever, then really at the end of the day, it's about your exposure. It's about you and your money and what you do with your money. Now, let's take a look at some companies. Let's take a look at the index. You're seeing that, of course, with speculative names going down, some people are probably getting afraid of the Philippine market. And so market value today is 8.5 billion pesos. Mostly on the downside, you continue to see decliners 136. And a lot of foreign net selling continues to prowl the Philippine market. I believe that money always flows where money grows. And if they think that Philippine market, their money can't grow, they will continually sell it. So from a foreign perspective, of course, guys, foreigners are also Filipinos. Foreigners does not have to be like a Filipinos, not Filipino citizen. As long as you're domiciled in Singapore, you could actually be Filipino, but you have an account in Singapore, or you have an account in Hong Kong, or you have an account in Norway, whatever it may be. These managers could actually be seeing that there's not a lot of money to be made in the Philippine market, and they see that there's so much value and growth elsewhere that it's really normal to see foreign flows continue to sell the Philippines despite strong liquidity in the market. Why am I saying strong liquidity? We're talking about the global market, 13,000 Nasdaq, 6,000 index. That's like 100% of the index. But if you actually look closely, I think like you have to be such a loser if you didn't even make 100% last year. Like you had the most epic bull market perhaps in the USA with $6 trillion and continuous printing. That I'd say that Awesome 10X would have just said, why not just copy Awesome 10X? Like we have so many great ideas for you that we actually did research, and we just even gave it for free, like free Friday class picks. So just follow the Awesome 10X system. You don't even have to sign up, but if you want to, just wanted to share that our classes are always daily, and you can subscribe to our YouTube Awesome 10X. That's not that should be Awesome 10X, youtube.com/Awesome 10X. And of course, I just wanted to shout out that we have a 15,800 pesos annual fee. It's actually a 21% discount in the US market. And actually, it's global. The problem with people is that they just think, oh, global means US. No, not necessarily. Sometimes there will be companies in Canada and Australia that are good, which you would actually buy. Sometimes you'll buy like companies in Poland, like CD Projekt. Example, if you're a gamer, if you like AI, artificial intelligence, there are companies worldwide that might actually fit the bill. So the problem with most people is that they only just think that, oh, it's global, I don't understand it. The truth of the matter is that we make it so simple. And I think that the testimonials alone should already tell you that our system is effective. Filipinos with zero background at all in global markets, and they are making 50%, 100%, 200% in just 3 months. Now you probably think that I'm hyping you, so I'm not. I'm just telling you that sometimes when you have a system and it gives you like 25% returns in a month, you don't really actually, you just buy it, and then your downside is this, whether the upside goes 100% or 500% or 5,000%. At the end of the day, you just let your winners win. Because #winners win. So let's take a look at the Philippine market. Even if winners win, do losers lose? Because it is two things. If winners win, do losers lose? And the answer is, unfortunately, yes. Even if you've got a value play, losers will continue to lose if the market will have liquidity elsewhere, which is flowing outside the Philippine market. So you're seeing that the market is falling down, not necessarily because the Philippine fundamentals are really bleak, but you could argue that in a way, in the Philippines, if you're not innovating, how could you actually grow 10x your money in the Philippine market? Think about it. Are you going to eat 10 times more? Are you going to consume 10 times more if your household spending is actually very weak? If the business revenues are going to go down, if you don't have software firms, if you don't have gaming firms in the market, and I'm talking about gaming like Tencent type of quality. I'm talking about CD Projekt type of quality. I'm not talking about some game that you just... So that's the thing. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of awesome 10x ideas in the Philippine market. The ones that I do have are even very small. So like parang if you're a very, I'm not saying that you need to be a big client, but liquidity in the Philippines is so bad. We're talking about liquidity, what, 8.5 billion pesos? In about March and April, what was the liquidity that we're talking about in the Philippine market? 4 billion pesos. With that type of liquidity, 8 billion and 3 billion of that is in speculative issues. What type of liquidity are we talking about? It's as if I buy into it and I'm like forced never to sell it, right? And if I'm thinking about forever, I mean, you gotta tell me what. I have to say that, you know, I have so many options. My money could just simply own a Disney and a Facebook versus owning the best blue chip in town in the Philippine market. And, you know, at the end of the day, people have to decide where they want to put their money into. So that's one reason why the Philippines is in a dilemma and will continue to be in a dilemma 5 to 10 years down the road. Because if you don't have innovative startup or even great companies residing there, who's going to invest in the Philippine market? Unless like your Taipans are gonna do something as big as what Sea Limited abroad is doing, who really wants to invest in the Philippine market? Last night, I think like BTS and Tokopedia just partnered, right? So they're doing a lot of online shopping in Indonesia, and they even hired BTS like Blackpink. So Blackpink and I think Blackpink, yeah, not even BTS, sorry. Yeah, so what I'm saying is that our Philippine companies have to think globally. And sadly, there's only a few. I'm not saying that it's zero Philippine company that's thinking globally, but how many can I type? Like it's just less than maybe 5 or 10. So it's very, very few. And that's really a problem. How could I construct a portfolio in the Philippine market when I can actually just choose something in the best abroad? Even if you think about solar, sure, ASEAN was great. We chose it. End of the day, we could have had, and we do, not we could have, we have Sun Power, we have Sunrun, we have Canadian Solar, we have First Solar, we have Enphase. The point of the Solar Edge, there's so many, right? The point of the matter is, why would I have to crowd myself in such a small and a thinly traded market? You have to think about those things. That is really the primary problem of the Philippine market, the liquidity. So how do you actually solve liquidity? Sometimes you can actually solve liquidity if you really have a great company. However, if you're not growing as high as the other companies, it's very hard. How could you actually tell a foreigner to invest in the Philippines? It's very hard. So here, I think what's happening in the Philippines is just a natural, inevitable conclusion that when people are going to invest, they're going to have to ask themselves, what is the opportunity cost that I am doing if I invest in the Philippines versus if I invest just stay in the US? Right? Think about those things. Should I invest in the Philippines companies or should I just stay here in the US? And that's the problem. Very few Filipinos, there's very few alternatives to actually tempt. You want to call it tempt? You can't even tempt them. Like what exactly is the 10x company that you are talking about in the Philippines, right? Very, very few. So that's really the main problem. Like I talk to a lot of Americans, Norwegians, and at the end of the day, we have to invest where our money will flow and grow. So and if that money is residing elsewhere, can't do anything about the Philippine market, sadly. So in fairness to the Philippine market, let's read about this. So you've got your top 10 actually still being sold down, still being distributed. This is our distribution sold off. You've got your BDO banks falling down because we said to you, banks at the end of the day, financials at the end of the day are what? They have a traditional cost structure. They're not like the ant financials of the world. They're not like the squares of the world. They're not like digitally savvy. And because they're not digitally savvy, how much can you actually grow? Compare a BDO in the Philippines versus, example, a social finance in USA. And you already see the major difference, the problems why people don't want to actually invest in dinosaurs. And at the end of the day, Philippine companies are, it's sad to say, they still need to innovate. They have a lot to innovate. When you talk about NPLs, credit card ratios, you've got what? A firm does that better. A firm which is AFRM in US. You could buy now, pay later. It's disrupting all the credit card systems, not just in US, but the world. So Affirm, Afterpay, Klarna, these things are better. If you are a bank in the Philippines, you gotta learn what the world is doing, because if you're not gonna innovate, somebody's after your market share. And I think that's the main problem. It's not about BDO, by the way. It's about like the entire Philippine market. So there's really a huge problem, the Philippine market, the lack of innovation, and therefore the lack of liquidity. Because it's a chicken and egg question. You have to ask yourself, well, it's not liquid. The point is, do you have a great company there? Because I could go to Poland, which is not also liquid, but I'm going there because there's CD Projekt there. At the end of the day, they really have a world-class company inside. That's really the main problem. You don't have a lot of world-class companies. Now, you could argue, well, Chicken Joy is residing in the Philippines. That's great. But how many companies can I actually invest? Are you telling me to just buy Chicken Joy all the way? I can't, right? It's not as if like I could just buy my entire portfolio in just one company. Now, you could argue, well, SSI is doing transformation. Great. But that's just 1, 2, 3, right? At the end of the day, how many companies are actually transforming their e-commerce digitalization? A lot. The answer is a lot. So yes, there's value in the Philippine market, but you cannot just, it's just one out of many. That's it. Like in a stable of, like, if you think about stocks like women, you are able to handpick so many women in the world. And I always tell this, like, I'm a playboy, or you want to call yourself a playgirl, I'm polyamorous. A portfolio of mine would probably consist of about 70 companies, sometimes even 80 companies. And I have like what, 2, 3 accounts? So like 70, 50, 50 sometimes. I just opened an eToro, which just, I think, like 11, 15 names. Some of them are actually repeats, meaning I have it in my other portfolio and I just added another account in eToro just to showcase to the Filipinos that, hey, you can open your eToro accounts. And because I've been like telling people in the Philippines that they should be investing in worldwide. Not because you can't invest in the US, not because you can't invest in the Philippines. You can actually invest worldwide. So, there are very great companies in Denmark. So yeah, Disney's, the Vestas wins, and all of that. Japan, if you want to invest in the Sonys and the Nintendos, right? So those are the things that you have to understand that is battling your Philippine market. The online globalization and the low commission fees that Robinhood, of course, disrupted, the advent of fractional shares tells you that even at $1,000, you can open an account everywhere in the world. So think about it. As Filipinos, you can actually invest globally. So you have to think of your world as the global setting, not just the Philippine setting. Because at the end of the day, no matter what I do, Philippines is just what, 100 million Filipinos versus global, I could reach 7 billion worldwide population. Think about those things. So I'm not surprised why the Philippine market continues to languish. So it continues to languish. You could see a lot of selling front continuous all the way. Yeah, so it's a little bit inevitable, but that is what it is. So let me see the questions, if any. Okay, so what will happen to Mac? It's bad news. There's no more Sangli. Wala po bang market updates yesterday? Yesterday, I wasn't able to do market updates, sadly, because of my internet connection. But that's why I transferred to a closer router so that I would not get interrupted. MacroAsia. All right, let's read the news about MacroAsia and the Sangli Airport. To be honest, guys, MacroAsia Sangli Airport was just more of it's more of what you say that MacroAsia's valuation has nothing to do simply with Sangli. So if it dropped from about 7 all the way to 5, because of that, it just is pricing in that news. But is MacroAsia never going to go back to 7 or 8 or 9? The bigger question that you have to ask yourself is, Nikki, is travel really down to zero? Is travel really never going to recover? Because if the answer there in a longer term is that, of course, there will be revenge travel someday in the future, then that company will not shut down for good. It's not going to go down forever. Those are what you call, people are going to ask, is it a value or is it a value trap? Is it a value trap or is it really a turnaround play? And the best way to understand whether it's value or a turnaround play or is it an obsolete is you have to ask yourself the snap test. Very simple. All of you know about Thanos. And I told you people, I told all the clients in the inner circle, I told everyone basically, one of the most awesome 10x picks, the criteria is try to think about Thanos. Thanos will snap his fingers and then what? He slapped his fingers, that company is gone. Imagine all the restaurants gone. We're talking about Starbucks, we're talking about Shakey's Pizza, we're talking about Jollibee, we're talking about Max's, we're talking about Shake Shack, McDonald's, Dunkin' Brands, Chipotle, restaurants as a sector. We know that they're going to have they're going to lose money. That was already a known thing. We know that traveling is a known thing to be zero last year. Now, it could be actually still down this year, 50% down. You could actually see them report earnings to the downside. But at the end of the day, you ask yourself, snap your fingers, Thanos test, is Starbucks going to go bankrupt? No, the answer is no. So we picked it up last year, 55, 65. It's right now 97. So ask yourself with MacroAsia, is this Sangli thing really an important part of MacroAsia's business? The answer is no. If you study MacroAsia, the revenues of MacroAsia from Sangli is zero. It was supposed to be like, if you were a company, I would have earned more because of Sangli, but that's because I don't have the Sangli, so I don't have that extra revenues. But where was MacroAsia's core revenues coming from? The answer is coming from the Lufthansa. It has nothing to do with Sangli. So take a look at MacroAsia. Yes, let's read the news. Cavite cancels the award for China Communications $10 billion Sangli Airport project. So why did they close down? It's because China Communications and MacroAsia actually won the auction to partner with the provincial government. Now, sadly, they aren't fully committed to the project. The Cavite would start a new negotiation for another private sector partner to pursue the airport project. MacroAsia was a consortium for the $10 billion firm, and CCC was a Chinese firm doing this. Remulla said that blacklisting has nothing to do with the cancellation. CCCC was not immediately available for the comment. So MacroAsia shares sank 20% down to a 3-month low. It said that the airport was a national security issue. Duterte gave the go signal. Okay. Here's the sad part. I'm going to tell you something. Now, I'll tell you what. So I was telling the people inside the inner circle that, I said that sayang the Philippines because tourism talaga, we've got the great beaches, we've got the greatest food, we even got, we have beauty queens in the Philippines. So we have beautiful women, beautiful people, entertainers, so much talent in the Philippines. But sadly, Condé Nast even called our Palawan one of the best beaches in the world. Condé Nast, the travel magazine. We've got world class to, guys. We're not talking about if Philippines had to share something. Now, what are we the best at in the world? I gotta say, we've got world-class beaches. As in, topping all the other, sadly, di ba? Ang dami nating natural resources talaga. However, what's problematic is that even if we have the greatest beaches in the world, we don't have the infrastructure to actually support it. We don't know how to actually cater to the tourists. We don't even know how to build hotels for them. And so actually, take a look at this, no? I was laughing at the price point of Palawan because what's this? DWC, Discovery World, was actually able to buy an island for just about a mere 5 million pesos. I was talking about it na parang grabe naman, $100,000 lang, $80,000 lang yung isang island ng Pilipinas. Parang binigay mo na talaga yung buong island ng Pilipinas sa ibang tao kasi parang grabe yung presyohan. So it was a news. Let me show to you. Discovery World Shores hikes a stake in a Boracay firm, Business World. This was about 2018 eh. Now I was saying na, people were asking me, Nikki, may awesome 10x idea ba sa Pilipinas? So sabi ko, siguro yung Palawan, okay naman. Kaso problema, wala kasi talagang liquidity. Bibili ka, tapos di ka makakabenta, di ba? So mag-US ka na lang kasi may maganda kang mga companies in the Philippines, hindi mo na ba din malalabas? Anong gagawin mo sa pera mo, di ba? Forever ka stock. For February 28, 2018. So Discovery World actually increased their shares in Balay Holdings with just a price of about 26 million pesos. That was about 2018. And then meron pa yan ginawa. Discovery World also bought an island eh. Discovery World, saan nga ba yun? you can tag naman eh. Daming news yan eh. But I read, I shared a news clip na they bought an island, Cay Holdings Discovery. Let's see nahanap. Discovery World, ito, January 2016, for just $4 million, increases stake, ayan no, Cloud9 Resort, Balay Holdings, and Cay Islands, di ba? Increases stake in all their 4 subsidiaries. Discovery World announced Palawan Cove, Luckily Cloud9, Balay Holdings, amounting to 10 million pesos. Grabe guys, sobrang mura ng Palawan. Parang sabi ko, grabe naman tong mga to, Palawan Cove, magkano lang nila binibili? 40 million pesos, isang island na yan, real property in General Luna, Siargao, Surigao del Norte, hotel and hostel developments. So, yan. So, I think naman that personally, tama yung ginagawa nila. For Discovery World, if I was a business owner, syempre, wala man akong problema kung binibenta mo sa akin mura, di ba? Alam mo mag-angal ako na sobrang mura ng Palawan Islands na mga yan, di ba? So, okay, bibilhin ko, di ba? So, yun, sabi ko, I felt that Awesome 10X believes that Discovery World Corporation is kind of undervalued. Medyo, 'di ba? Parang, and then of course right now it's trading at all-time high. So sabi nila, "Uy, okay naman yung pick mo, umangat." Okay naman, sabi ko, pero parang ewan ko kung may value kasi 1 million pesos, 5 million pesos lang, 'di ba? Parang magkano to? What? Value traded 4.8 million pesos. So parang okay na rin, 'di ba? Some people are asking ano yung idea mo, edi sinabi ko lang, fundamentally mukha namang mura to. So yun, about MacroAsia, the good thing about MacroAsia is that people know about it. Like people know that MacroAsia and Cebu Pacific are reopening themes, right? So paano mo nalaman na alam ng tao yon? Kasi may value traded. Kasi merong 17 million pesos. Ayun, at the end of the day, I still prioritize liquidity. Kasi minsan, alam mo ngang maganda siya, pero ikaw lang mag-isa may alam nun. Eh di paano na? I mean, diba? Okay, you know that this company has already been traded. There's a very huge resistance here at 10 pesos, fell down to about 3 pesos, 285. You are seeing that some people are disappointed, but at the end of the day, why do you think that people here bought at about 4 or 5 pesos? It has nothing to do with the Sangli Airport. I'll tell you what. They bought at 4 to 5 pesos because of Lufthansa. Because end of the day, all of this Lufthansa technique, shucks, natagal ko na, 30 minutes ko na. Wait. Nasaan kayo? Private data. Sorry. Dami kong mga stuff personal. Ayun, what's this? So, chill lang. Like, I think like MacroAsia is in a range. You've got about 5 pesos support, 9 pesos resistance. It could trade in a very huge range. And when you see that the Philippine market, syempre, ayan, malakas yung down drop. So yes, may up, pero maraming resistance dito sa 6. What you're seeing here is a classic case of support resistance range. Range play lang to. Yan. So, lahat ng buong 7-8 months from August till 10, let's say hanggang next August na to or next year na to, malaking range to for MacroAsia. So, you've got a lot of support here about 485. Nagbenta yung mga iba sa 6 and 7 and 8. Malamang yung iba hawak pa yan, okay lang. You wanna enter if it really bottoms out. Hintayin mo yung consolidation na ganito. That's when you enter. Tingnan mo kung mag-puke pa yan all the way. Pag nag-puke yan, all the way even at 3, nako, okay lang, bumili ka more. Okay lang yun. So huwag kayo matakot. ASEN, down po, 9%. Tomorrow po yung SRO listing, what do we expect? I really think that ASEN is already being distributed. Walter White is saying, majority of my position is MacroAsia. May disclosure po si MacroAsia sa Palawan for mining. Would that help po ba? Well, I think like most people, they really believe in MacroAsia from a perspective of catering to the airlines. So, di ba, catering and then catering services, food-related business, and then really mostly talaga the repair of maraming mga maintenance yan ng airports, ng airplanes. So, I think that it's not too much on the Palawan mining. It's really gonna be a travel-related beta play. So doon talaga siya magiging catalyst. Miss Nikki, thank you for sharing your insights for free. Thank you po. Why are the prices of stocks going down when the company is making a buyback on their shares? No problem. Actually, you saw AGI. They bought what? AGI was buying their shares at 13. Binagsakan hanggang 5. Wala namang magagawa si AGI. It's not as if like bumili ako ng 13, sure ako 13 yung support. No. 13 can go all the way to $3, to 3 pesos or even 2 pesos. The point of the matter is, even if somebody's buying and you are already aware. So we were actually arguing that AGI, buyback yan sa 550. Alam mo na ipit si AGI, Andrew Tan sa 13. So talagang bili ka sa 5, di ba? Alam mo at some point in time, di mo naman alam na bukas or next month or next week. Pero alam mo, may value to. Unang-una, AGI's business is mega world. Ang daming value ng emperador. Ang daming value ng cash flows niya. So if you think about it, totoo bang Philippines is damned for good? Not true. The truth is, there are values. However, wag mong imagine na 5 pupunta ng 25, 5 pupunta ng 50. I mean, kung nangyari yun, edi thank you. Pero parang, for me, okay lang. 5 went to 10, di ba? Okay na rin. And then, bababa yan ng 5 ulit. Sometimes hindi. Bakit? Everyday na lang ba magkakaroon ng COVID pandemic? You think somebody will sell their shares at 5? Sometimes you actually even need to buy the panic. What's happening to MacroAsia, the Sanli Airport thing, that is a diversion. You want to actually buy the panic. Now, I'm not saying na buy lang ba ng buy. People are saying, sabi ni Walter White, majority of his position is MacroAsia. Ayoko magmura, pero wala naman nagsabi sa'yo na maggawa ka ng ganyan, di ba? You have to asset allocation. Pizza pie rule. O sige, I'll tell you my rules. Sinabi ko na, Awesome 10X system. Punta kayo guys dito. Awesome 10X system. Video. O yan. What is the Awesome 10X system? Naka-laid out yan. Risk control has to be automatic. 25% of your money has to be in cash kahit na zero interest rate yun. 25% should be in stocks. Now, take a look. 25% of your money is in stocks. Hindi sinabi 25% in MacroAsia. It means that 25% in stocks, let's say that 25% is $25,000. If $25,000 is your total allocation for stocks, we're talking about, okay, $25,000, pwede ako maglagay $1,000 kay MacroAsia. Pwede ako maglagay, let's say, 5% of my $25,000 is how much? $1,250. So, hindi ko sinabi, sige, sabihin na natin, in love ka dyan. Okay lang din. 5, 10, 15. 15% of $25,000 is roughly $3,750. Pag nagkamali ka, hindi ka deads. Kasi alam nyo guys, this is what I don't understand. I learned it the hard way and I'm teaching you. Hindi ibig sabihin na all-in ka, magaling ka. Minsan nga katangahan yun eh. Bakit ka mag-all-in? Para saan? To brag? Para saan, guys? Sabihin niyo sa akin totoo. Para lang ba mag-port snap na ang dami-dami kong pera, 100% in ako sa ganito, tapos GameStop ko ganito? Para saan yun? Sa sarili mo ba yun? O para lang ipakita mo sa buong mundo na ang galing ko eh? Are you bragging to who? At the end of the day, how is long-term wealth created? 25% cash. Kahit walang kinikita yung cash? Kasi paano kung nagkasakit ka? Pwede ba lahat ng pera mo, lahat ng savings mo, nilagay ko lahat dito sa GME? Ang galing ko. Nag-100x yung pera ko. The truth of the matter is, YOLO ka nun. You only live once type of better ka. Which is not really what Awesome 10X teaches. Awesome 10X teaches you long-term wealth creation is about the pizza pie rule. 25% in cash, 25% in global stocks, diversify it. Now, stocks, it could be everywhere, guys. Pwede ka may Jollibee in the Philippines, pwede ka may Philinvest in the Philippines, pwede ka may MacroAsia kasi reopening theme yun eh. Pwede ka naman, of course, magkaroon ng global din, di ba? So, ganun yon. So, lahat ng mga pinipili mo, alam mo anong binibili mo. The other 25%, kung may pera ka, you're saving up for a property. Sana may bahay ka in the future. The other 25% is really your job and business. Hopefully, if you really want to build a business, ang maganda nga ngayon, hindi mo kailangan ng malaking capital sa business. Yung iba, Instagram lang yung business nila. They're selling stuff online. Maliit lang yung hosting fees niyan kung nagbabayad ka lang sa Shopify eh. So, mga ganon. And then of course, yung other 25% mo sa job and business, hopefully, yung kinikita mo sa job and business mo, yun yung pang-sustain mo sa daily life mo. Like what you're paying for your food, for whatsoever. So really, that's how you should allocate. You have to have diversification and asset allocation. All HC and SSI, good to buy at current prices. Okay, guys. I said SSI, I believe, personally. I think that 170 was a buy, 150 was a buy, 130 was a buy. End of the day, as long as it's not 2 pesos, I think that it's a buy. So actually, I put what? I said, Awesome 10X, SSI, sustainable system ba yan? Diba? I gave like what was what I felt about SSI. I said, okay. And then I even said, Sun is a beneficiary, opportunities, PLC, SSI, an exchange with SSI Group's Anton Huang. Okay, diba? Ano pa ba? Confirmed breakout, Shake Shack opens at Greenbelt 5. Frutas and SSI, strong vote of confidence. SSI is the Philippines' largest specialty retailer. Is SSI a strong secular investment? Diba? Search lang naman, sinabi ko na eh. So, from a position perspective, I'm a bull on SSI. Hindi ako nagpapalit ng thesis ko porket, price action kasi 130 na lang ngayon. So, ano ba yan? Ganito yan, guys. Whether you bought it at 130, 150, 160, 170, the answer or the thesis of Awesome 10X is, how much exposure do you have? Kasi, ako naman, usually, I let the idea simmer. Pinapa-simmer ko lang yung idea ko. Now, to be honest, yung mga ideas ko, mabilis talaga yan explode globally. Bakit? Kasi liquid ang US eh. Hindi siya like parang, it's very, maraming pera doon. So, kumbaga parang, pag alam nila may value to, papasukan talaga ng pera. Now, you ask yourself, hintayin mo yung mga disclosure ng SSI. Tatanungin mo, Anton Huang, magkano yung e-commerce mo? Magkano yung kinita ng Shake Shack Philippines mo? Now, syempre, sabihin nila, mahina syempre ngayon, COVID pandemic, mahirap talaga. Gets naman natin yan. Pero ano ginawa mo sa e-commerce fronts? So, yun yung mga bagay na importante. How are the brands doing? And truth be told, ang mga babae, shop ng shop yan. Alam mo ba na yung Kate Spade Tapestry, may-ari ng Tapestry, ang may-ari ng Kate Spade is Tapestry. And I'll show you what. Ito Tapestry, kaboom. We were buying here at about 14, 16, 17. Nag-34, 100% up. Now, asan yung SSI? From a stage ngayon, nandito pa lang si SSI. Natulog din to, March till September. So, you know, what I can see with SSI is natutulog yan. Patulugin yung okay lang. Kasi, hindi mo naman alam kung kailan yan tutulakin eh. Pero at the end of the day, bumili ka lang, 130, 140, 150, o kahit na sabihin na natin, bumili ka pa sa as high as 170, in-average up mo yan. So 130 to 170, di 150 ka average mo. Okay lang yun. End of the day, magnyunyulo ba to? Piso, babagsak pa ba ng 50 cents? If you think that the downside, kahit na bagsakan ka pa ng 50%, but the upside is 100, 200, 500%. Ako, personally, I can live with it. Bagsakan mo 50%, I don't mind. Basta, pag upside, 200 to 500%, game ako dyan. So, ganun ako. All HC is logistics. I think we said to buy at 2 pesos. But at the end of the day, I mean, sabi ko, 350, 360, mataas na rin, di ba? So, parang normal correction lang si All HC eh. Magkano ba All HC ngayon? Ay, sorry. Giant stop. Ayan, like an exchange, basahin mo na lang. O, papanorin ba natin? O sige, panorin natin since SSI, tinanong nyo.
Some of the most well-known luxury brands in the world, such as Lacoste, none of us ever expected or really prepared for, at least not to the magnitude that we're experiencing today, for sure. The retail...
Guys, ako kasi, the retail industry is really having a hard-hit problem. Household spending crushed, maraming tao nagkakaproblema sa jobs nila. Why is Awesome 10X here? We are here to help you do it yourself. We want you to know what you're invested in. Hindi yung parang bibili ako ng Jollibee tapos di ko alam kung ano yung business ng Jollibee. Tanga ka ba? Bumili ka ilang milyon, tapos di mo alam kung anong binili mo. My gosh! Kailan ka matututo? 2020, 2021, di ka pa natututo. 2030 ba? Hindi ka pa rin matututo. Di ko maintindihan, di ba? So yun, akala ko kahapon nung nag-bounce yung market, mali ka. But now, tama ka nga talaga. Wala na, going down na talaga. Well, hindi ko sinasabing tama ako. Ako kasi, hindi lang talaga ako magaling talaga sa basura. And I really don't, I'm not sure if you're gonna call it basura, speculative, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, whatever you wanna call them. Mahirap mag-invest in companies that I cannot see myself married to. Ganun lang talaga ako. So kung hindi ko rin kaya patunayan yan, na pag bumabay ng 50%, di ko yan kayang bentahin. Kasi guys, ganito yan. Pag di naman din kayo talaga marunong mag-cut loss, have a system where you're investing in the best assets of the world. Tipong sasabihin mo pa sa kanila sa market na, ibebenta mo sa akin 30 pesos Cebu Pacific, di sige, as if matatakot ako, di ibenta mo sa akin as if bukas wala nang Pilipino na lilipad to Hong Kong and Japan. Lahat kami gagamitin namin eropleno, mag-drones na ba kami? Okay lang, gusto ko rin nun. eVTOL, which is electric vehicle take-off landing. Pero guys, wala pa tayo sa point na ganun. I mean, sa abroad nangyayari yon. Pero hindi pa kaya ng Pilipinas mag-eVTOLs. So, yung mga ganong bagay, di ba? Parang minsan, at some point in time, minsan common sense na lang eh. Pupunta ka ba ng USA someday? Pupunta ka ba ng Singapore someday? Ano gagamitin mo? Magde-Delta Airlines ka ba? Don't tell me talaga sarado na yung Cebu Pacific forever. Kahit na, nagkaroon ng massive layoffs, nandyan na ako. Alam ko mga employees na walang trabaho, guys. But at the end of the day, now's the perfect time to buy them. Kasi alam ko hindi yan magiging zero. Thanos snap test lang yan, guys. Alam ko dinosaur talaga Pilipinas, sadly. Pero may mga essential pa rin kahit na dinosaur. End of the day, you can tell me, dinosaur yung mga bangkong Philippines, pero they have to digitally innovate. It doesn't mean na gusto ko lang naman mag-innovate sila. Hindi ko naman sinabi na hindi ko naman sinabi na, coffin ka na. Syempre, hindi pwede. Ilan tao yung nag-use ng BDO? Of course not. So when it fell, 85, 86, what did Awesome Tenor say? Bili tayo niyan, 85, 86, BDO. Pero at 100, 110, 115, at some point in time, sasabihin mo sa sarili mo, hindi naman to magwa 150 pesos, di ba? So pwede na yan. Bigay mo na yung mga tao na, bigay mo na yan, 110, kumita ka na, pwede na yon. Yeah, kumita tayo sa AMC. So Nickel Asia is a beneficiary, pero at the end of the day, 180, tinulak mo ng 6. At some point in time, sabi namin, 4, 5, 6, 'di ba? Parang pwede na magbenta eh. Hindi ko sinasabi babalik ng 2, 'di ba? Pero may mga companies na hindi yan babalik ng presyong binili mo. Pero ano na yan? Kumbaga parang at some point in time, masyado ka na talagang greedy. Kaya nga pigs get slaughtered. Bears make money, bulls make money, but pigs get slaughtered. Pigs can happen in twofold. Nangyari sa GME and AMC, slaughtered yung mga short dyan. Kasi pigs sila eh. Short sila ng short eh. Di ba nila na-gets? Daming pera sa market. In-underestimate nila yung mga Wall Street bets, yung mga retail. In-underestimate nila. So ayun, patay sila. Yung hedge funds nila, durog. Sorry, ganun talaga. Risk Management 101 if you have to learn about it. Pure Gold is yun nga. Sadly, Pure Gold, I like the Philippine supermarket. Nandyan siya, 38, 40 pesos. Let's say you have Pure Gold, no? Tulog pa rin siya. Okay lang yan. At the end of the day, you ask me, Nikki, saan tayo magsusupermarket? Konti lang naman talaga supermarket sa Pilipinas, guys. Kahit napilitin mo ako mag-Amazon, hindi man ako pwede mag-order ng Amazon. Hindi ko rin naman pwede i-order lahat ng supermarket ko sa Shopee. So, at the end of the day, sige, grocery-wise, of course, Grab is also entering the grocery market. Pero in my view, ito yung tinatawag na moat. M-O-A-T. Moat is moat. So, if you have a moat, mahirap patayin yung moat. Kahit na anong gawin mo. Capital is a barrier to entry. Napakabilis lang ba na Merrimart will just eat up all the market share of Pure Gold in a second? Hindi. 10 taon, ilang dekada na yan si Pure Gold. Madali lang sabihin, mahirap gawin. Gawin mo. Diba? So guys, kahit sabi mo sa akin, I'm gonna disrupt the supermarket sector, okay na tayo dyan. Merrimart already went up from 1.6 to 6-7 pesos, diba? Hanggang saan po ba to? Magti-10 pesos pa ba yan? Syempre, sasabihin ni Pure Gold, di naman ako dito natutulog, guys. Bakit niyo ako binabaliwala? Parang wala ba akong halaga? So at some point in time, alamin niyo rin mga binibili niyo. Sige, 47 minutes na po. Huwag kayo masyadong matao sa Pilipinas. Syempre, value is value. 38, bagsakan mo yung Pure Gold ng 35, may buyer yan. Lahat ng Philippine companies, at some point in time, may value yan. Pero hindi mo pwede sabihin, eto yung value ko, pag 100% upside, pwede ka mag-sell half. And then, pag nag 300, 500% up pa yun, edi okay, edi better. Di mo naman kailangan masabi na, alam ko naman kasi hindi naman ito mag 150%, kaya binenta ko na ganyan. Nobody knows the top. I'm not saying that I know the top or I know the peak. It's okay to be imperfect. Let's say, nagbasuran names ka, tapos kumita ka. I mean, to be honest, kung natalo ka doon, feel ko, di ba masyado ka na rin talagang greedy? I mean, hanggang saan mo ba talaga dapat kitain yan? Ilang 100% ba yung gagawin mo? Di ba? So, pwede na yun. Yung mga natalo, kailangan din nila matuto kasi they deserve to lose money. If you're a pig, people have to learn the hard way. I'm not saying that at the end of the day, 'di ba? Ginawa mo rin 'yan. People who know how to invest their money, either nag-rock bottom crisis na 'yan, kaya alam nila yung mga bagay na insane na 'yan eh. Ba't ka pa hahabol? Mas mabuti na hindi ka kumita kaysa malugi ka. Sorry na lang kung hindi ka kumita, 'di ba? Ganun lang 'yun. Bakit? Kami ba? Bumili kami ng GameStop at 100? Hindi. 4 to 7 kami eh. Siguro pinakamataas, $12. So, whether may people na gonna go up pay at 100 or mag 300 yan or mag 1,000 yan, who cares? Free money naman yun eh. As if, di ba, like let's say meron ka talagang mga PHA. Let's say, presyo mo naman 50 cents. Nahawakan mo yan ng 1 peso, nagbenta ka konti. Tapos dumiretso ng 2, dumiretso ng 3. Ngayon, bumalik sa 2. Edi, okay lang. End of the day, kumita ka pa rin eh. Ano bang hinahanap mo? Di ba? Kumita ka pa rin. Ang daming business nga na, wala nang business eh. So, you have to think about those things. It's an hour long already, and so I have to go. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Bye-bye.